Second is what? Three types of people at the beginning of the surah.
Non-believers.
Believers, disbelievers. Second, a third.
Third,
Hypocrites, munafiqun. So Allah is going to show us now that these people who are passive aggressive are going to display what? They're going to display a mixture of two types, disbeliever and hypocrite. Because they pretend to believe somehow in revelation, but they still say we don't believe in your revelation. So let's see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them. Very interesting, by the way. Very, very interesting. Allah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا فِي قَلْبِهِ وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادَ وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهَ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ فَحَسْبُهُ جَهَنَّمُ وَلَبِئْسَ الْمِهَادُ. Like in Arabic, very poetic. Very, very beautiful, these words. I'll read the translation and tell me how it feels. Allah says, there are some hypocrites who impress you with their views regarding worldly affairs. So they have beautiful speech and openly call upon Allah to witness what is in their hearts. They say, we are good, we want to help, we want justice, we want equality, right? So on the surface, they have beautiful speech, they're very nice, they embrace what everyone agrees upon, like civilization, advancement, respect, right? All these...
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, exactly, very typical example. Okay, and they openly call upon Allah to witness what's in their heart. They say even Allah knows what's in our hearts. Okay, yet they are your worst adversaries. They are your worst enemies. They have hatred and enmity towards you. And when they leave you, they strive throughout the land to spread mischief in it and destroy crops and cattle. Allah does not like mischief. So these people, they have beautiful speech. They talk about beautiful things, like, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that. Why? Because that's good for the people, that's good for the weaker ones, that's good for, the oppressed ones, the less fortunate, and so on and so forth. Really what they say is beautiful principles, moral principles, beautiful slogans, wonderful, right? And they say, Allah knows we don't want anything from this. We want Allah, we have pure hearts. Then when you see them acting out in the world, these people do the worst things. They go about, for example, and politicians are a clear example. Like you listen to them, wow man, beautiful policies, beautiful promises, right? But when you see them in the land, they are destroying everything. They do every bad thing that affects people's lives negatively. So Allah is saying, you will notice that what these people say and what they do are not the same. Are not the same. It brings about mischief, and Allah does not like mischief. And when someone confronts them, He says, you guys are inconsistent. Inconsistent, what you're doing is wrong. Allah says here, and when it is said to them, fear Allah. What are you doing? Fear Allah. Pride carries them off to sin. They respond with arrogance. They don't take that. Allah says, hell will be their proper place. What an evil place to rest. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the other example of who are the good people. By the way, this is a profound psychological description. Like you can't today describe passive-aggressive behavior better than this. No way. No way. So profound. Allah describes the opposite. Who are the ones who are really good? Look at how these people are presented. Allah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ رَءُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Simple description. Allah says, and there are those who would dedicate their lives to Allah's pleasure, to the things Allah loves. What are the things Allah loves? Justice, respect, equality, freedom, responsible freedom, kindness, compassion, and so on and so forth. And then they say, and Allah is ever gracious to His servants. Simple, no need to describe it. Good people, they don't necessarily speak much. You can see it in their lifestyle. They just want to bring about goodness. Wherever they go, they bring about goodness. They don't have to talk much. It's just their lifestyle. And Allah now, so this is a reflection of what we said, the three types of people. But it addresses a specific situation the Muslims were dealing with at the time. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now gives instructions to the Muslims of Medina and throughout the time in order to avoid being like these people. So Allah gives Muslims general instructions, and Allah then is going to back it up with historical facts about humanity. So Allah says to the believers, and this, by the way, echoes exactly the theme of Surah Al-Baqarah. We said, the theme of Surah Al-Baqarah, O humans, worship your Lord. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to emphasize this now again in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين فإن زللتم من بعد ما جاءتكم البينات فاعلموا أن الله عزيز حكيم هل ينظرون إلا أن يأتيهم الله في ظلل من الغمام والملائكة وقضي الأمر وإلى الله ترجع الأمور سل بني إسرائيل كم آتيناهم من آية بينة ومن يبدل نعمة الله من بعد ما جاءته فإن الله شديد العقاب. Allah says simply, all believers. Again, we said Allah will echo what? Allah will confirm the main message, the essential message of Surah Al-Baqarah, worship your Lord. But Allah gives it now differently. Allah says, enter into Islam wholeheartedly. Don't pick and choose. Why? Because the hypocrites, the Jewish tribes were doing what? They were very selective. They were cherry picking when it came to their religion. We would follow this and we would not follow that. We said the Prophet ﷺ was mentioned in their scriptures. They decided not to follow this. So Allah is saying to the believers, enter into Islam wholeheartedly, completely. Don't be selective. Don't cherry pick. And do not follow Satan's footsteps. Again, Allah is indicating that shaitan does not come to you and say, hey, steal some money. Or, for example, hey, just kill that person. Or commit zina, or whatever. Shaitan always takes you through steps. One after the other. One after the other. Slowly, slowly. To beautify the sin to you. Indeed, surely he is your sworn enemy. If you falter, if you make a mistake, you slip, after receiving the clear proofs, then know that Allah is indeed Almighty and All-Wise. So Allah is saying, you're going to slip. You won't hold on to this truth, which is worship your Lord all the time. You're going to make mistakes. So if you make mistakes, remember that Allah is what? Azizun Hakim. Allah is still in charge and Allah is wise. So what does that mean? Allah is wise, that He knows the reality of who you are. So if you are sincere, you don't worry about that. Allah knows it. But if you are not sincere, if you're playing games, Allah will deal with you accordingly. Then Allah says, and about the hypocrites and the disbelievers, are they waiting for Allah Himself to come to them in the shade of clouds along with the angels? If He did, then the matter would be settled at once, and to Allah all matters will be returned for judgment. So what is Allah saying here? Allah is saying, these people are saying, we will only believe in you, O Muhammad, if you bring Allah to us. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَا اللَّهُ. And they said, why doesn't Allah talk to us directly? And today we have the atheists, militant atheists. What do they say? They say, we believe in Allah, we will believe in God if we see Him. Right? Let Him show Himself to us. Now the question is, who is God? If you're going to tell God what to do, who's God here? You're playing God. Allah is saying, okay, they're asking for Allah to speak to them, or Allah to reveal Himself to them. Allah is saying what? If He were to reveal Himself to them, everyone would believe. Faith is not necessarily about seeing. You believe in the unseen. And it's not like you believe in any kind of imagination or fancy. If you dig deep down in your heart, you know this faith is true. That's the difference. So it's not belief without evidence. You actually have the evidence inside of you. But the question is, are you willing to look inside, or are you arrogant, thinking the science you have, the philosophy you have, the mind you have, is able to understand reality? That's the point. So by the way, any person who says, for example, there's no God, we don't have proof there's God, and science shows no God, that's really interesting. That person is arrogant. Automatically. Because if you study the philosophy of science, and if you are a person who is really heavily involved in science, you know what humans know about the world is too little. Is way too little. And every other day there's a new discovery in science that changes the whole, a whole area in science. So in the past, let me give you a very simple example, something I'm personally interested in, neuroscience. Anyone who's above 40, they know very well that the science used to tell us in the 50s, 60s, 70s,